Before any great transformation in life, there is a deep silence, an emptiness that feels like punishment but is, in truth, the announcement of something sacred about to happen. Many times, we mistake this moment for abandonment, thinking that God has forgotten us, but in reality, He is carefully writing the most important chapter of our story. If you feel that everything is out of control, that nothing is as it used to be, perhaps that is precisely the sign that something extraordinary is about to be born. There is one detail that few notice. Before granting a blessing, God prepares the heart to receive it. He rearranges life, dismantles old plans, separates what no longer belongs, and leads us to places that, at first glance, seem wrong but are actually the beginning of the right path. A blessing does not arise when everything is peaceful. It is born in the midst of chaos. Think of Joseph, the dreamer. Before ruling Egypt, he was betrayed, sold, and imprisoned. Everything that seemed like loss was, in fact, preparation. The bottom of the pit was merely the fertile soil where God planted purpose. And so it happens with us. What seems like the end today may simply be the perfect disguise of a new beginning that heaven itself is planning. And what if the pains you endured were not punishments, but rehearsals? What if the tears you shed were the baptism of a new version of yourself, one capable of receiving something that could never have fit the person you once were? The great question is, can you perceive the signs before the turning point arrives? One of the first evidences that something great is about to happen is the sudden increase in challenges. Before the blessing comes the battle. When heaven is about to open, hell makes noise. It feels as if life tests our faith one last time. Problems multiply, paths close, and even our strength seems to abandon us. But what appears to be an attack is, in truth, training. God never sends someone unprepared to a new level. It is precisely when everything collapses that He tests whether our trust is mere convenience or true conviction. When nothing makes sense and yet we choose to believe, that is when the miracle begins to take form. The greater the calling, the greater the test. Those who suffered the most were the ones who received the most. Joseph, David, Esther all faced trials before being exalted. If your life feels like a battlefield, it may be because the enemy knows the magnitude of what you are about to carry. But there is something essential that few perceive. When God is about to elevate someone, He doesn't just change circumstances, He changes the person. The struggles are not meant to wound, but to shape character and purify faith. It is in this fire that gold is formed. If you recognize the process, if you can say to yourself, I can see that I'm being molded, know that declaring it is an act of faith. Often, putting it into words is the first step toward living what God has already prepared. Another sign of preparation for a blessing is divine disconnection. Sometimes, before a great change, God begins to distance people, cut ties, and end cycles that we ourselves would never have the courage to end. It hurts because the mind does not understand what the Spirit already knows. Not everyone can go with us where we are going. There are places where only purpose fits and the past has no access. The distancing that feels like rejection is, in truth, protection. He clears the soil of our life, removes invisible obstacles, and prevents old patterns from continuing to block our path. Solitude, though painful, is the womb of rebirth. Joseph interpreted dreams alone in prison. Moses heard the voice of God in the desert. Jesus prepared for the cross in moments of solitude. The silence that surrounds us is not absence, but rehearsal for the next act of our story. And the people who left our lives were not losses, they were liberation. The emptiness we feel may be precisely the space God needs to place something new. Another sign is spiritual restlessness. Something within you begins to change. What once enchanted you loses its brightness. Ordinary conversations start to feel shallow. The heart longs for something it cannot yet name. It is the spirit awakening to a new phase, one that requires more sensitivity and less distraction. It's as if a part of you already knows that something important is about to happen, but cannot yet understand it. This discomfort is not an error. It is the soul being prepared for a new alignment. God closes doors that distract us and lights within us a desire for something more authentic, more truthful, more spiritual. The discomfort is the push that takes us out of the ordinary. On the outside, you may seem the same, but inside, you are already being rebuilt. When this transition completes, we realize that the life we once knew was only a draft. The feeling that something is about to happen, even without understanding what it is the prelude to a new time. Then, doors begin to open unexpectedly. God acts quietly, almost imperceptibly, and opportunities arise from places we never imagined. People appear with solutions we didn't even ask for, and circumstances align in almost miraculous ways. What once required effort now becomes natural. What once seemed stuck begins to flow. What once felt distant now draws near. These openings are not rewards for effort, but results of growth. Purpose doesn't manifest when we win, but when we understand. When we learn to trust, to release control, and to move forward even without a map, God releases what had been withheld. During this process, there is a silent inner work. Before a blessing manifests outwardly, it must first be born within. God does not pour something new into a cracked vessel. Revisiting old wounds, facing memories we avoided, forgiving those we swore we never would. All of this is painful, but freeing. This is the point where many give up, mistaking the process for punishment. But what God does is empty us not to burden us, but to fill us with purpose. Every tear shed is a seed, and the fertile ground of miracles is always watered by pain. During this phase, we begin to feel different. The past no longer hurts the same way. What once paralyzed now strengthens. This is the clearest sign that transformation is nearly complete. And at the same time, we start becoming a blessing to others without even realizing it. Our words carry weight, our presence brings peace, and our story inspires those going through what we've already overcome. None of this is coincidence, it is purpose blossoming. Everything we've lived, losses, silences, new beginnings, was not just about survival, but about preparation for something that will impact not only our life, but also the lives of others. After the struggle, the purification, and the silence, something powerful emerges. Faith turns into calm confidence. We no longer need proof, because we know that everything works together, even what we don't understand. God doesn't just want to change circumstances. He wants to transform our awareness. When we find peace amid chaos, it's like crossing an invisible bridge. The storms continue, but we know who's in control. This certainty opens the way for the supernatural. Blessings begin to flow naturally, opportunities arise at the right time, and everything seems to fit perfectly. What we receive now is not only for us, it's meant to transform the environment around us. Our testimony becomes a bridge to the faith of others. If you feel that things are starting to align, even without seeing the whole picture, know this. It's the beginning of the harvest. Everything painful simply prepared the soil. You're exactly where you're meant to be. When you look back, you'll understand. God never denied you anything, He only waited for the right moment. Every wait, every silence, every detour was His hand guiding you with precision. Promises never fail, but they require maturity to be sustained. He works more within us than in our circumstances, because the greatest miracle is not in receiving, but in becoming capable of caring for what we've received with wisdom. When everything starts to reorganize in your life, do not fear. It's purpose manifesting, the harvest after the waiting, the moment when what you've believed for so long becomes real. And when it happens, remember, blessings are not the end, they are the beginning of a new mission. A gift is only complete when it generates transformation around it. Now that you've reached this point, there's something you must understand. Every stage you've lived, every silence, every loss, every tear was not in vain. Everything had a greater purpose, even if you can't see it yet. God was present in every detail, working behind the scenes, shaping, purifying, and aligning everything so that you would be ready to receive what He had already prepared. Your heart is being prepared for something greater, something beyond yourself. Every challenge that once felt unbearable, every moment of loneliness, every disappointment was to help you recognize the strength that already lives within you. And now everything begins to make sense. What was once confusion becomes clarity. What once seemed impossible draws near to reality. And what once felt distant now walks toward you. Remain steady but open. The transformation you are living is not only for your growth, but so that you may become an instrument of blessing in the lives of others. What God gives to you, He expects to be multiplied, shared, and lived in ways that touch those around you. Breathe deeply, trust, and walk forward. Open your heart to receive what is coming, for God never fails. He knows exactly the right moment, the right path, and the perfect way to act. Your new season begins now. This is the start of the chapter you have always awaited, the beginning of a life marked by purpose, faith, and miracles. Prepare yourself, because what's coming is not just a blessing, it's the fulfillment of everything God has promised. It is the answer to your moments of waiting. It is the beginning of a story that will inspire not only you, but all those around you. Your new time has begun, and this time, nothing will stop you.